It took Pennsylvania about 300 years to get it to a $20 billion budget. The last budget we were operating on until the end of June 30th was $29 billion. So for the first 300 years, it takes we get to $20 billion. Under Governor Rendell, it goes to $28 billion. Under Governor Corbett, it goes to $29 billion. You now have a governor who wants to take it to $4.7 billion more this year, an additional $8.2 billion next year. That's almost $13 billion increase in 2 years, with a long-term goal of in his first 5 years to take Pennsylvania to a $40 billion budget. In 5 years, friends. That's double what it took us 300 years to do. That's not fair, especially these young people standing out here. By the time that gets paid off, I'll be gone. But that's one of the first things I want you to think about. Second of all, I drove from Center County to be here because I wanted to support my colleagues, not only as a member of leadership, because I'm one of the older guys in the camp, but the reality is these are good people. We've been really blessed with some of the people you've sent to us in the legislature. Fred Keller served on my finance committee when I was committee chairman, and I could always count on him to support initiatives that he thought were good. I could always count on him to argue with me on issues that he didn't like. And you know what? That's what makes a good system. I often say that budgeting legislating is like making steel. My father was an old steel worker. And the reality is you got to heat that raw material, and you got to pound it, and you got to shape it, and you got to heat it again. Well, the legislative process isn't much different than that. And the reality is you got to give and take. But at the end of the day, you want a good product. We got a governor that says our budget's a sham. Well, the reality is our budget is last year's budget with more money in it. The same budget that we were operating under. That's not a sham. It was responsible finances and fiduciary responsibility till all these people stand behind me. I'd like to come back to this parking lot next year and find out that these people are growing so fast and so much that they had to tear the parking lot and put another building up. But the government gets in the way because we overregulate and we tell them that we need more money as government, so we're going to take it from you, either as individuals or as businesses. That's wrong. And you're fortunate. You got the legislators stand behind you that represent this area, that they speak up and they stand up and they say no to the stuff. I've seen some of these people make very difficult votes as freshmen that even I said, whoa, I'm impressed, but they might get their head taken off on that one. But the reality is they did what Linda said very elegantly. They did what they felt they were elected for, regardless of the peril it might put them in politically in Harrisburg. Last but not least, I want you to think about something. People talk about this budget impasse, and I've had a few people in my area say, when are you going to give in to the governor? When are you going to let the governor win this? Well, folks, you've heard some great details, and I'm not going to reiterate all the numbers. I brought some brochures here that I'd ask you to look through. This talks about the legislative budget that we, the House and the Senate, passed, a responsible budget without increasing taxes, putting more money into those special areas that you folks are important about. But at the end of the day, it is not about whether or not we, the legislature, win or the governor wins or who loses. You go along with what the governor wants to do and raise that budget 4.7 this year and $8 billion more next year for a total of $13 billion. It's the people stand behind me and these young people who are yet to have futures that end up being the losers because they're going to pay that debt off. Do not fall for the scam or the sham of wanting to borrow more money because the credit rating's lower. You know what government does when government doesn't have the guts to raise taxes? They borrow. I'll give this guy credit. He's got the courage to do both, raise taxes and borrow. But when you borrow billions of dollars, it's generally borrowed over 20 and 30 years, and future generations have to pay that back. I think that's wrong, and that's what we're standing here for to say. We've passed a responsible budget. We've passed a budget to continue to fund good organizations, child care centers, senior centers, hospice facilities, whatever it is, we put the money in there, and in some cases, more money. And the last thought I want you to remember, in this impasse, while the governor's trying to hold out to get more tax dollars, and these companies and these organizations being told they can't get any money, guess what? You're still paying taxes. The government still taketh, they're just not giving anything back. That's wrong. That's your money. If it's going to sit in a fund somewhere, it should be sitting in your account, gaining interest. Fred, to Pikewright, I want to thank you for hosting us here. As a member of the leadership team, I'm honored to be here to support you, and we're going to continue to fight what we believe we were elected to do, and that's to stand up for today's generations, the working people, and the younger people that are coming along and want to have a future here in Pennsylvania.